How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. We'll be covering the Yankees Rays series from this past weekend. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder. I hope you all are doing well. So, yeah, let's kind of dive into it. So, this was now the second consecutive series that the Yankees have lost, going back to the Orioles series, the previous series from this one. And I was kind of hoping that, coming back home with this homestand, the Yankees would rebound playing against a team that, they took 3 out of 4 from in Tampa not too long ago. And that ended up not happening. They ended up dropping the series, which is another series where they could have very easily had won it, especially with game two. But it did get off to a good start. They did win on Friday night. There wasn't a lot of scoring, though. They did win 3-0, and that was by a Paul Goldschmidt 3-run homer. So, that's his second home run in as many days. So you're hoping that, the power numbers continue to increase because Goldschmidt has been a hitting machine so far this year. But I would like to see, him, hit for power as well, to drive in some more runs. And he did do that. But yeah, Goldschmidt has been great so far this year. I mean, I don't want it to come off as I'm nitpicking, but still, that was big. The Yankees were able to get the win there. Good performances from their bullpen, and of course Max Fried, who we'll talk about and how important he's been. But another great outing against the Rays. You had him pitching. You had Devin Williams again, another scoreless outing, not in the ninth inning, in his new role. So maybe he's starting to turn a corner. And then you had Luke Weaver, who of course has been money this year. His ERA still remains at 0. So that was Friday's game. Then we get to Saturday's game, and this was a game the Yankees could have very easily had won. And, it got off to a good start. You had Judge homering for the 11th time this season. I want him to see him hit 60 again. We'll see if that happens, but he's been unbelievable this year. I don't know how many times we're going to talk about that. So that put the Yankees up 1-0. You had Austin Wells homering. The Rays did tie the game. Wells did hit a homer later in the game that put them ahead. But then the eighth inning happened. And you had Anthony Volpe getting hurt on a single by Christopher Morel. He, dove for the ball. He ended up hurting his shoulder. He heard something pop. Did not play yesterday. X-rays came back negative, so hopefully it's not a long-term thing, but it is concerning. And the Yankees right now are kind of shorthanded with the injuries. Now we have Jazz Chisholm going on the IL for 4 to 6 weeks with the oblique. And, we don't want another half of the middle infield now being out. But Volpe did stay in the game. I thought he was immediately going to be taken out because it took some time for him to get up. But, after a few minutes, he said he wanted to stay in, so he ended up staying in. But he did end up booting a potential game or inning-ending double play that led to the Rays scoring a run that put them up 3-2. Mark Leiter Jr. did pitch when this happened, and he's been good this year. Wasn't great in that eighth inning. There was a walk, again, some soft contact. Again, Volpe didn't help him out there. And the Rays took the lead. Yankees weren't able to come back, and they ended up losing that game 3-2. So that was another game where in the later innings, the Yankees weren't able to hold on and get the win there. And then yesterday, they never really had a chance. They were down 5-0. Will Warren really did not give them anything. And, they did, for a moment, maybe gave you a sign of, hey, maybe they're going to come back here, but it just ended up not happening. Cody Bellinger hit a 2-run homer to make it 5-2, but then the Rays tacked on a couple more runs. But the Yankees did make things interesting in the eighth inning. You had Judge lead off the inning with a double. Bellinger got on. Goldschmidt got on. Dominguez got on with a long single. That didn't score any runs. And the interesting thing that happened in the game yesterday, and Boone talked about it at the end of the game, was allowing J.C. Escara to hit in that spot in the eighth inning. So to go back to the eighth inning to make sure that I was correct. So like I said, Judge led off the inning with a double. Then Cody Bellinger walked. Goldschmidt singled, and that drove in Judge. So that made it 7-3. Then Dominguez hit a shot that he just missed a home run. Everybody had to stay put where they were because it was hit so hard. And it was fielded cleanly by the Rays. So it was still 7-3 with the bases loaded. So this is what I wanted to get into. So JC Escarra comes up, and you would have thought that you pinch hit him for Wells or Ben Rice, but instead he allows JC Escarra to hit in that spot. And JC Escarra hits a little tapper back to the pitcher's mound. Well, not really back to the pitcher's mound, in front of the plate, and it ends up being a double play. And that was like the worst possible thing he could have did. And then Yorbit Vivas comes up, gets his first major league hit, 2-run single, and that makes it 7-5. Then Ben Rice came up for Oswaldo Cabrera. He walked, but then Oswald Peraza came up, and he grounded into a force out. And that ended the inning. And Boone's explanation was he was deciding between Escarra and Vivas who to pinch hit Ben Rice, or who should be pinch hit for with Ben Rice. And he let Escarra hit because Escarra has more big league experience, which is correct, but I think this is Escarra's like 11th career game. So that didn't really make sense. I think in that spot, I think Austin Wells should have, came up. And, the Yankees were kind of shorthanded, of course, because, with the Chisholm injury and Volpe not being available, they wanted to stay away from Volpe. So I get that. But I didn't really have confidence in J.C. Escarra to come up in that spot. And, if he struck out, at least would have been one out. But he put the ball in play, and it ended up being a double play. And that kind of killed the rally. I think Austin Wells should have been put in that spot. Because then Austin Wells came in the game later. Because Ben Rice then pinch hit, like I said, for Oswaldo Cabrera. But, Ben Rice ended up just having that one at bat, and then they put Wells in. So I don't know. And then they put Escarra at third base. So I just, that was a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, I would have had more confidence in Austin Wells than J.C. Escarra at the plate. And if Wells grounds into a double play, so be it. But, yeah, and it wasn't like a traditional, grounder to second, you turn two there. It was nubbed in front of the plate. So they got the out at home, and then they got the out at first. So you didn't even get a run out of that play either. So, but yeah, then Yorbit Vivas came up, had a 2-run single, but it's just, it wasn't enough, and the Yankees ended up losing the series. And I forgot to mention that Clark Schmidt got scratched from his start in Game 2, so they had Ryan Yarborough pitch. He did okay. He walked some guys, but, he's able to get through, I think, 4 innings, and, the Yankees bullpen was doing well. Ian Hamilton pitched a scoreless inning. Fernando Cruz, who's been great this year, we've talked about him. He pitched a scoreless 2 innings, but Mark Lerner Jr., like I said, got into a little bit of trouble, didn't get some help from his defense, and that ultimately led to the 3-2 loss on Saturday. And, yeah, they lost 7-5 on Sunday. Didn't start on time because of the rain, but, yeah, Will Warren did not do well. He got through 4 2/3, but 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 of them were earned, 3 walks. Did have a career high in 8 strikeouts, but still, it's just he really has not been giving the Yankees what they need right now at this point in the season with all the injuries. And right now his ERA is at 5.65. So, yeah, and then actually Carlos Carrasco came in yesterday. He pitched 3 innings, and he gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. But, yeah, I mean, with the pitching, I mean, the Rays had 16 hits yesterday. That's not good. That's not good. And they also, on Saturday, they had 6 stolen bases. Chandler Simpson is showing that he's the fastest player in the league. I mean, he's beating out, routine ground balls that should, be able to get you an out, and he's beating those out. That's how fast he is. But yeah, he had a couple of stolen bases on Saturday. The Rays were running all over the Yankees, and this is kind of what happened last year when they got exposed a little bit, when Wells and Jose Trevino was struggling to throw guys out, and hopefully that's not, we didn't see what's to come now as we move along here. But yeah, that was a problem last year, and that could be a problem again. Teams running on the Yankees, because that was very frustrating last year. But yeah, 6 stolen bases on Saturday. But yeah, it was not a good series. I mean, again, they blew the game in the later innings. Will Warren was not good. And also the Yankees, didn't really hit. In certain spots they did. Like I said, the Goldschmidt 3-run homer, and then you had the eighth inning yesterday. But other than that, in total, they went 5 for 21 with runners in scoring position. They went 1 for 9 in the first game with runners in scoring position, and that was the game they won. Then they went 0 for 1 in runners in scoring position in game 2. So yeah, again, really didn't hit. You had Judge and Wells hitting home runs, and that was their only sources of offense. And then yesterday, they were playing from behind. And the Yankees, after the sixth inning, when they were trailing after the sixth inning, they were 0-11. So they haven't really been able to rally in these games. I was kind of hoping that maybe, because remember when they blew that 8-3 lead against the Rays down in Tampa, I was hoping maybe the Yankees could have returned the favor and did that yesterday. Because they did show a little bit of fight, but again, it just was not enough. So yeah, right now they've lost 4 of their last 6. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. And now they go into a series against the Padres, who are one of the best teams in baseball. Right now, I think they're a half game back of the Dodgers in the NL West right now. It kind of changed because they were leading, and then the Dodgers are kind of scuffling a little bit, but now the Dodgers are back in first. But yeah, it's going to be a tough series because you got Nick Pivetta, who's pitching tonight against Carlos Rodon, and Nick Pivetta's been really good for the Padres. You got Michael King tomorrow. So, yeah. Max Fried will pitch the final game of the series against Dylan Cease, but you got Carlos Rodon tonight. You got Clark Schmidt, who was supposed to pitch on Saturday. He's now going to be pitching tomorrow against Michael King, who's been very good this year as well. So, yeah, and with the Yankees lineup the way it is, I mean, you go back and you look at the lineup from yesterday. So, the first 5, you had Grisham leading off, Judge second, Bellinger third, who homered yesterday, and he's starting to show some signs of coming out of this slump that he's been in to start the year. Then Goldschmidt, and then Dominguez. But then after that, you have J.C. Escara, Pablo Reyes, Oswaldo Cabrera, and then Oswald Peraza. Yeah, that's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. Now, right now, the Yankees are dealing with injuries, and they didn't play all their guys. They didn't play Wells. They gave Wells an off day. There was no Ben Rice. So the lineup was very weak when you get towards the middle and the bottom part of the order. So, we'll see what the lineup is tonight. Will Volpe play tonight? We'll see. Again, hopefully the injury is not long-term. But actually, I think this might be the lineup here. So I see, so you got Grisham, Judge, Rice, Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Volpe, Austin Wells, Oswald Peraza, and Yorbit Vivas. I think that's the lineup for tonight. So Volpe, it looks like, Volpe is back in there, so that's encouraging. Because, look, I know Volpe hasn't been spectacular to start off the year offensively, but I'd rather him in there than, no offense to Pablo Reyes and to Peraza, but yeah, I'd rather have Volpe in there. So Volpe's back, so that's good. Wells is back. Ben Rice is back in the lineup. I like what I've seen out of Yorbit Vivas from the brief time that he's been up here. His at-bats, and maybe he starts to get it going offensively. I mean, that's definitely a confidence booster. You got a big hit in a big spot. At least was giving the Yankees some momentum to try to get back in the game yesterday. So, left-handed bat. We'll see. He's going to get some runway now with Jazz Chisholm being on the IL for, at least a month and a half. So, yeah, but it just was not a great series. And there's concerns. I mean, I think the bullpen, we don't really need to worry about that. I know Devin Williams was an issue, but they addressed it. Luke Weaver is now the closer, and Devin Williams has done good in, the spots that he's been put in since he got removed. But yeah, I mean, Hamilton's been good. Fernando Cruz has been good. Mark Leiter's been good other than the other day. Tim Hill has been solid. So the bullpen, I'm not worried about that. What I'm concerned about is the lineup and the starting rotation. More so the starting rotation. Because, if the Yankees are in these close games, all you need is a big hit from, Judge or Goldschmidt, someone to come through, Ben Rice. If you're in these, tight games, and they did lose a couple of tight games in Baltimore. They lost one, against the Rays on Saturday. But still, you want to be in those close games. But when you have these games like yesterday, when you're playing from behind the whole time because guys like Will Warren and Carlos Carrasco are giving you no chance, that's a problem. That's a problem. And the Yankees, their starting pitching depth is thin right now. You're hoping Luis Gil can come back sooner rather than later, but he's still ways away. Not really any updates on Marcus Stroman because Marcus Stroman's on the IL. Would you rather have him than Carrasco and Will Warren? I mean, the way he pitched against the Giants, his last start, I mean, which, it's a few weeks ago, you're not so sure about that. So there are issues with this team right now. And thankfully, though, they're still in first place. And, the other teams in the division are not very good. I know the Rays just took 2 out of 3, but, I mean, I don't think they're bad. I think they're a decent team, but, they still got to catch up to the Yankees. The Orioles are in last place, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox. Nobody's really, the Yankees, everybody's kind of, jumbled together. Right now, we're in the beginning of May, and it doesn't seem like anybody's going to be running away with anything right now. But yeah, for the Yankees, though, they're still in first place. It could be a lot worse. But it's not. But now they play a very good Padres team, and it could get ugly. But they do have Carlos Rodon pitching tonight. Maybe he gets them back on the right track. But Nick Pivetta has been very good, so he's going to have to match whatever Pivetta does. Tomorrow's Michael King, and then you got Max Fried, who the Yankees just don't lose to Max Fried. Max Fried has been unbelievable this year. Unbelievable. And he is one of the MVPs of the Yankees right now. He's been very valuable to them. They're 7-0 in his games this year that he pitches. But they're 12-15 when everybody else starts. And everyone else's starts, they're 12-15. I mean, that just goes to show you when Max Fried pitches, the Yankees win. It's a guarantee. And you need Max Fried because, I mean, Carlos Rodon, you could live with his rough outings because he's going to put together good performances. Clark Schmidt is still trying to work his way back, and the Yankees are trying to be really careful with him because they can't afford to have him go back on the injured list again, and then who knows what they do with that other spot. And then, I mean, it's really Warren and Carrasco. They really just do not give the Yankees length. And I said I'm not worried about the bullpen, but you'll start to get concerned when they have to keep using the bullpen because the bullpen is going to get tired at some point. So, and at the trade deadline, I expect the Yankees to be active and try to make moves to improve this team because I think they do need another bat. I do think they need another arm in that rotation, even when you get Luis Gil and you get Giancarlo Stanton back. But we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, they get a series. They got series starting with the Padres tonight. We'll see how that goes. Make sure to check out my Knicks video with Ben that we did today. Preview that series. So I'll be locked into that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. Again, trying to continue to put out as much content as I can. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the Yankees. What do you think about this series from over the weekend? And what do you think about this series coming up with the Padres starting tonight? Let me know in the comments. So with that, that's all the time that we have. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.